The touch of your hand makes my pulse react. That it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl, opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. Oh, what's love got to do? Got to do with it. What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do? Got to do with it. Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? It may seem to you that I'm.
Yeah, I wanted to play the entire thing, but
Yeah, but of course, then YouTube will shut it right down.
yeah, so I'm surprised it's not shut down already. But
Right.
Tina Turner passed away today, 83 years old.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, she was great. You know, it's really, I don't know, did you ever see her perform live?
I did not. A lot on TV, but
I only got to see her perform once. It was down at Richfield, 1985. I just looked it up. August 22nd of 1985, and it was a great show. It was a huge show. It was when she was doing the "We Don't Need Another Hero" or whatever, that Mad Max tour.
yeah.
But it was a giant stage. It was her with Glenn Fry opening. How ironic, both of them gone now.
Yeah.
But what a show it was! Glenn Fry just came out and killed, and he was doing "You Belong in this, You Belong to the City" and that Don Johnson Miami Vice type stuff.
Yeah.
And then Tina came out and she had the whole Mad Max look, like everybody in her band was dressed Mad Max-ish, and
That's awesome.
and she just laid it down. She was riding high from that song and from obviously everything on Private Dancer, and great show, great artist. I was a big fan of Tina Turner, man. It's funny, I texted my mom, who's an even bigger fan of Tina, like a huge fan. I texted her when I saw the news, and she hit me back, and she just wrote, "This one really makes me sad." And I was like, "Yeah, I get that," because she was bigger than life, and
The thing is, yeah,
go ahead.
she actually crossed over to many generations too. I mean, that's what is interesting.
Well-
My daughter came home and she even saw the news because I had Fox on and they were talking about it. She's like, "Oh my God, Tina Turner died."
Yeah.
She was sad about it.
Yeah, she really did cross all the genre lines, especially, dude, when Private Dancer came along. That was when I've said this on my other shows, but I don't think I've said it here. My mom was definitely the cool rock mom. Like, took me to see Led Zeppelin in '77 when I was 9 years old, and she was a personal banker for Barry Gable. So every time Gable came in, she worked at National City Bank back then. And every time Gable came into her office to do their banking, he would give her tickets to whatever they were doing during the week, tickets and passes and stuff. And my mom, if you go through her record collection, it was all the cool stuff. It was like my dad listened to all the horrible stuff, the Glenn Campbell and Jim Nabors and garbage like that. But then my mom was always like Stones, Who, all the rock stuff. And even now, my mom's 74 years old. She listens to like T.I. and stuff like that. She's still current with her music. But what I remember is Tina Turner in my house was like the one artist that really cross-pollinated. Because at that time in the 80s, we were going off into like Madonna territory and stuff, which my mom was not digging, and I was into like Madonna and Prince and John Cougar and Billy Squier and everything that was popular at that moment. And then Tina Turner came out with Private Dancer, and it was like, wow, this is one my mom's listening to and I'm listening to. It was a true crossover, at least in my house. And
The same thing for me. My parents were both, into the more hip kind of music. They weren't, like we said, Glenn Campbell and that kind of.
Yeah, right.
So I remember that, and I mean that Private Dance was that's the album that I kind of got into everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was born in '76, so that was kind of like when I started listening to music and getting into music, and I know my mom was a big fan of Tina Turner, and the Mad Max stuff obviously was cool, and
sure.
She had a storied past too. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, well, the thing too about Tina at that time, because Private Dancer came out, what, 84, I think, 83, somewhere in there. The thing it was right when MTV was blowing up.
Right.
The weird thing is if MTV would have come out even like 3 years later, I don't think Tina Turner would have had that comeback. I think she would have been remembered for Proud Mary and, the Ike stuff.
Yeah.
But MTV, she was like an old star. Like everything else on MTV at that time was 22-year-old from Ireland, U2, and Michael Jackson and, that kind of stuff. And then Tina Turner came out and was just massive she was massive on MTV.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. They had Kennedy as part of the Fox News team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they had Kennedy on just a little bit ago, and she was obviously with MTV when all that stuff was happening.
Sure.
And so she was on talking about, what an influence she was and how big she became because of that MTV.
Oh, era.
And then I think she was the first black woman on the cover of Rolling Stone.
I believe that's true as well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to agree with Rick there. She was sexy.
Yeah, she always said that she had little girl legs. Now, I've seen, legs, a lot of legs in my time, man. Those are not little girl legs, man. Those things are powerful.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Those were collecting dollars in G-string legs. That's what they were. They were sexy as hell.
Yeah, she was something, man.
Yeah, she was. It's a big loss. It's sad. You're huge when they've written musicals about you.
Well, that was the other thing that I was going to say is that she's had kind of a resurgence lately because of the musical that they came out with, Tina, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And there's a whole new group of fans that were getting to know her. But I think she died in her house in Switzerland.
Yeah. She moved out of the country, several years ago now. It wasn't like a year ago or something, but she if I remember the story correctly, it's not that old, but she kind of predicted that she was done, that she was dying like a year ago or so, because she made some declaration, I don't know, 6-8 months, maybe a year ago, about that she was retiring from public life, to just go and live out her days with her very wealthy husband. And now here we are. She's gone. So she must have. I read stuff quickly before we came on, but she died of. What does it say? What she died of, or just all I saw was long illness?
Yeah, that's all I saw.
I don't know.
I wonder what her net worth was.
Probably good. Probably hers personally, and then she was married. I think the guy that she was married to is a billionaire. So I don't think they were worrying about tonight's dinner.
57 minutes ago, they put out, I think, how much she was worth $250 million.
And that's her net worth. Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that. Dude, when I saw her, I can only judge it by like size of stage and stuff. Because, bands that aren't doing so well, they have smaller stages. It's just a rule. And when I saw Tina in 85, the stage was as big as it was as big or bigger than the stage that I saw Van Halen on, right. in the same room, in the same room in the Coliseum. So I'm comparing the two, and her stage was bigger than Van Halen's, and it's like, wow, so she had some money. That was the other weird thing, and I know I'm just rambling here.
No, go ahead, please.
When I saw her, and it still sticks in my head today, and I don't know why. It was the only time I saw a zillion shows at the Coliseum. I don't know if you did or not, because you're younger.
I saw a few, but yeah.
But yeah, I probably saw 100 concerts at the Coliseum. I saw one where the stage was kind of on the left side of the Coliseum instead of the right, and it was this Tina Turner show. And I never understood why, because always, I kind of always sat sort of in the same section that was like dead front, second deck. That's, as a kid, that's all I could afford.
Right.
But I always had like the front seats, and I just remember it wasn't the same section. It was like the opposite section that I sat in for Tina Turner, because it was the only show I ever saw on the flip side of the Coliseum.
Maybe it was like a lucky thing or something that she had where she
yeah, I mean, for all I know, it could have just been power construction as well. I mean, who knows? But I just still, to this day, it's the one thing that I remember about that show is it was opposite of every other show I ever saw at that place.
Would you stop, Jim?
Tina got the COVID.
Stop, liar.
Even if she did, whatever. I had the COVID.
So did I.
COVID doesn't kill you necessarily.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, Jim, that had COVID.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But sad loss, man. Definitely
it's a very sad loss. I mean, but at the same time, you start to sit and think about everything. Mm-hmm. At some point, you're going to lose all these people.
Oh, yeah.
Keith Richards, he's going to be alive until forever.
Yeah.
But you're going to lose.
Oh yeah, they're all going. Look,
83 is a pretty long life.
Yeah. I didn't say that to my mom because she's 74, but
my dad did too. And
I didn't want to say, hey, she got it all in, because then my mom's like, well, did I get it all in? I was like, no, I don't want to say that, but I mean, dude, it is the true sadness of being this age, and it's something that I don't even think our parents really went through. We grew up in an age where we sort of saw our rock stars, our rock and roll people, where, even 20 years earlier than me, I mean, I was an 80s kid, even the 70s kids, a lot of them didn't know they're rock stars. Like, they didn't know what the Eagles looked like, or, the Dave Clark 5 or whatever it was that they were listening to.
Right.
They didn't know that, to where when we see it, we can when you saw the news that Tina Turner died, you can immediately picture videos and her look and the hair and the, you can, because we saw it. It was right in our face for our youth. And I think it's making it harder now, because it seems like once a week we get a notification that somebody died from that era.
I remember this morning I was laying there,
mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden my phone goes off with a Fox notification. I get all that shit on my phone,
mm-hmm.
and it said, "Member of the Beatles dies." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Well, there's either Paul or Ringo.
So I'm sitting there going, "All right, one of them is gone."
Right.
And so I'm freaking out. I'm like, "All right, this is going to be the story that I have to talk about tonight."
Sure.
One of the Beatles is gone. And I click on it, and it's just the greatest clickbait of all time.
Right.
It was a guy that played like 3 times with the Beatles on like dates that there wasn't a bass player to play with the Beatles. I'd never heard of the guy.
Right.
And he died, but they put it out in the perfect clickbait. One of the members of the Beatles dies.
Yeah.
No, one guy that played with the Beatles 3 times when somebody was sick.
Yeah.
Played with the Beatles.
Exactly. Meanwhile, he's a guy that tuned the bass for McCartney or something.
Right. I called my wife. I'm like, one of the members of the Beatles dies. And she's like, who? And so I click on the story, and I told her who it was. She's like, I've never even heard of the guy. My wife knows more about music than anybody I've ever met other than you.
Right.
So I never heard of the guy.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's what they do. But yeah, we're losing people, and it's, I mean, I guess natural, but it's going to keep happening with all the people getting all these the stories that we liked growing up.
Sure. Well, and you know what the interesting thing is I don't want to say completely and all, but most of the really, really biggest names have not passed away yet. Like we've lost John Entwistle from The Who, but we haven't lost Roger Daltrey or Pete Townsend. And those are the guys.
Yeah.
The biggest guy that I think we've lost was taken out with a gun, which was, John Lennon. I mean, but eventually we're going to get that ring on the phone that's going to say Paul McCartney, because he's got to be in his 80s at this point. He's going to go soon. Ringo's got to go soon. And,
Elvis, we lost with the
we did
ice cream
lose
sandwich or something like that. But I mean, yeah.
But again, Elvis, another one that, he it didn't surprise anybody when Elvis died. Not really. People knew he was very unhealthy. It was kind of obvious that he was checking out early. We've had a lot of guys that have checked out early, the Kurt Cobains and the, Dimebags and Morrison. We've only had a few guys that have gone old and died of real age, of real prominence, like Dio. Ronnie James Dio was 69 or something when he died, and he was certainly prominent. But it's we're gonna get there soon. I mean, at some point we're gonna see James Hetfield of Metallica passes away, or
Yeah, it's weird to see guys like that. I mean, we lost Michael Jackson, of course.
Yeah,
but it's gonna be weird to see guys that I grew up with. I mean, right now, like somebody like Tina Turner, I guess, is more my parents grew up with Tina Turner than we did. But we're gonna start to see guys that we grew up with dying of natural causes. And, that's gonna be a.
Well, dude, it's so weird to me. Is like, guys that I know now that are in, and I know a lot of guys in the rock world. They're in their 70s.
Yeah.
When I start really thinking about, guys that I consider to be like friends, like Don Dokken is like 66 years old or something. I'm like, Jesus, 66, and I'm saying that like that's old. And then I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. I'm 54.
Right.
It's like, I ain't that far behind. It is weird. It's weird watching. I would love it if I don't see another one of my favorite band guys ever die, but somehow I don't think that's going to be the case.
And, Sandy called it a shock earlier, and to an extent, I guess it is a shock. I mean, I guess we weren't expecting it, but at the same time, you're talking about a woman who's 83 years old, probably did have some health problems, wasn't, doing. Yeah, you never really heard about her, but I mean, 83 is 83.
Old. Yeah, I mean that's nobody ever dies at 83, and you go, man, that's way too early. You never hear that. You always hear
that's awful to say, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, dude, and it's the weirdest thing in life. Everybody has a different frame up of life as well. Like for me, I'm never going to be 80 years old. Look at me. I'm a big fat tub of goo. I'm not going to be 80 years old. And and that's it. And it's like for some people, you don't look to be 100, I personally would not want to live to be 80 years old or 83 or 100 because, look, I'm 54 and I'm already starting to feel it, and obviously the accident that I was in took its toll on me to where it's like I'm really feeling it. And it's like, ugh, I can't imagine doing this and losing muscle and everything else to be able to keep functioning. It just doesn't sound good. But
I looked up one day, like, life expectancy of somebody with
like an
amputations and stuff like that, and as soon as I clicked on it, I clicked right off of it because I saw something I didn't want to see. I was like, all right, let's go on to the next article.
What did it say? 48.
I'm not gonna look up any of those things anymore. No,
you looked it up and it said 50, and you were like, oh no.
Well, it said something. Not lying. It said like most amputees are lucky to live past the first year. And I'm like, what? I mean, I see a lot of people with like fake legs and shit walking around. Like, what does that mean? And I think a lot of it comes from like mental health issues and other things. But I was like, I crossed that barrier, so I'm happy about that. But when you see that kind of,
dude, you
that's
can't
frightening stuff.
Let me just tell you,
I just had not to look up anything like that.
I'll tell you from experience, and this is God's honest experience. When I got burned up, when I was in that industrial accident, the doctors told my wife at the time, make any arrangements you need to make. He's never going to live out of the initial surgery. That's what they told her. They said, make any funeral arrangements while I was still alive on the table. Barely alive on the table. And then I went into the coma, and I did a couple of 3 weeks in a coma. And then I remember them waking, when I was awake, they had this meeting where they brought everybody in and said they were going to cut off my pinkies and they were going to cut off my arm and that I was never going to be able to walk without a walker. And I beat that odd, then, I beat all those odds. Then it was, well, if you don't if you don't, work out really hard and you don't do this, you don't do that, all these different things, you're not going to live a year. So then we spent the first year wondering if I was going to have a heart attack or whatever every single day of the first year. And I didn't have that. And then it was, well, if you get 5 years with the percentage of burns that you have, then that's considered good. And I beat that. So, you know what, dude? Now I'm 54. The doctor, it's funny, it's been a running joke with my friends forever because the doctor told me when I cleared all those hurdles, the last time I heard this was 55 years old is what I should strive for. Was to get to 55. And I always joke about, I have joked for years, got 3 years left, got 2 years left. I've always, because, you can't live your life in fear, no matter what happens to you, no matter what you go through. You dig through it, you dig in, and you beat it. You beat it. And if I don't, I don't, but for me personally, and I mean, I've been through the worst kind of shit anybody ever needs to hear. I wasn't supposed to get any of it. I was supposed to be dead at 26 on a table. They told my wife to call a funeral home at 26 years old. I'm 54 now. I think I'm pretty healthy other than the stupid wing that will not heal, and I'm thankful beyond thankful for every single day that I get, and I take advantage of it. And if today is the day, if I drop dead here when you go to the Triv's restaurant commercial, well, I had a good run.
All right, let's not do that. Let's not do any of that. Let's be a little bit more positive. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the other day I talked to you and you said what's up, and I started off the conversation with, well, this day has been shitty or something like that. And then I was like, but it's good to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, look, if I went through when I was going through my recovery from the burns, I did everything that they tell you to do. I'm sure they told you the same thing with your leg. Go to support group. It's going to help you. It's going to make you, get in touch with other people that have been through it that could tell you how to blah, 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 blah. And I did that, and I could not have been more miserable. I literally got kicked out of burn support group because I couldn't deal with, people that were hurt far less than me that were whining and complaining about their situation. Guys that like burned their arm or something and, lost pigment in their skin. Right. And I'm sitting there at 69% burned, 52% grafts. And I'm listening to this guy that's got a burn on his arm. And I was like, Jesus, stop it. It just, bleh. For me, it was like, I had to leave that and then move to, move on to doing what I do, which is what I did. I literally stopped going to support group and I started going into rooms like other burn victims that were going through it. And I wasn't through it yet. I mean, this is when I was still rehabbing myself, but I would go walk into other burn victims' rooms and just be like, oh, 30%, you got this, bro. Let's go. And they would all ask me the same questions. How do you get through it in your head? How do you look at yourself? How do you blah, 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 and I was always like, look, you just deal with it. You toughen up and you move forward.
Absolutely. I remember I was walking out. I had to go get something at the hospital. I was doing therapy not that long ago.
Sure.
And I was walking out, and there was a guy. It was bizarre because it looked almost like me, but he was in a wheelchair and he was missing his right leg, same kind of spot that I'm missing mine. And he was trying to wheel up this ramp.
Right.
And he was struggling hard.
Sure.
And I remember when he got to the top of the ramp, I looked at him and said, dude, you're going to get this and it'll be just fine. I was like, I'm where you are right now. I was there not that long ago. And I was like, I promise you, whatever you're thinking now, it's going to get better for you.
Sure.
And that struggle you're having getting up this ramp right now, you're going to be me walking up it shortly.
Right. Dude, you went to Metro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, me too. And the rehab clinic, like there's that parking garage there at Metro.
Yeah.
And then there's that little rehab clinic on the, like across, you have to cross the street and then it's right there. Well, that's where I did most of my rehab. And one of the things when I first got out of the hospital, and this is, I'm going to tell some illegal stories, but it is what it is. I don't think they could prosecute me 37 years later, but I was not supposed to be driving. When I first got out of the, I could damn near barely move. But I had a wife, I had 3 little kids, and Metro was far. I lived in Bedford.
Yeah.
So Metro was really far, and it was 10-hour days of rehab. Relearn to use my hands, relearn to walk, doing all that stuff. So within about maybe a month, it just got overwhelming for my wife, to deal with me, to deal with the kids, to try and wrap us all up and get us to the hospital and then hang out at the hospital all day.
Right.
It was a real bitch. And so I just decided at some point, well, I'm just going to drive myself. Didn't matter that I was high as a kite on Percocet, because I was taking them by the handfuls to get through the pain. But I remember one specific day, it was in the winter. I got to the hospital, parked in that little parking garage. At this point, I could barely walk. I mean, I was still at a point that I couldn't lift my feet to walk. I was kind of doing that shuffle thing that people do. And I got outside, it was cold, and I got about halfway across the street doing the little shuffle, and I couldn't go any further. I was like, if I take one more step, I'm going to fall down. So I'm standing in the middle of the street, just standing there, and it's snowing and it's cold. And I'm like, what am I going to fucking do here? And literally a guy pulled up in his car, got out the car, walked me across, and just looked at me and said, "Been there, you'll be fine." And got back in his car, went back to the road, got in his car, walked away after. I don't know the guy's name. I never saw him again, but he just kind of, it was one of those moments where I was really thinking about, this is as far as I can go. I can't do this. And he literally just kind of came over, walked me in, parked his car in the street, no less, walked me into the clinic, and then just disappeared. It was like, wow. But I always think about that guy whenever I'm ready to quit on something today. I always think about that moment where I couldn't go even a step further. And this guy was like, "Yeah, you can. Let's do this." Yeah. And he did. He helped me through it.
Well, a lot of texts coming in. Rick wanted to know, did you see any crazy stuff?
When I was in the coma?
I believe that's what he was asking.
Yeah. I saw, I had these dreams. First of all, I'm gonna shamelessly plug my book here. There's this book right here, Call Me Chris, that just happened to be on the desk. Honestly, it wasn't like I pulled it here suddenly. It was actually just happened to be on the desk. But it's available on Amazon, and you can read all about my fun adventures. But I did write in the book about my dreams, and I had dreams, not like I didn't have a moment where it's like, hey, let's go to the light or any of that nonsense that you see. But I definitely had some weird dreams that if you put me on a lie detector would absolutely be considered truth. Like I would pass a lie detector with, one of the dreams was that I saw these huge bugs all over my room, like on the walls, crawling around the walls, like trying to snap at me and stuff. And I swear to God it happened. I know it didn't, but I had that. I think I told once before about being on the pirate ship and feeling like I was chained to the to the wall of a pirate ship, and that was because I was going through surgery, so my mind was registering the being cut on. Like the pirates were torturing me as I was chained to this thing, and I was tied to my bed because I have a graph right here that they were trying to stretch out. So I was kind of Jesus on the cross, tied to the bed.
Wow.
And but in my mind, I was chained to the wall of this pirate ship, and I Again, I would swear that it was true, but obviously it wasn't. And yeah, I had my share of weird dreams and stuff like that in the coma time, and honestly, I had weird dreams even after. Like I spent so much time on morphine and then Percocet that it's really hard to tell what was reality and what was nonsense that was going on in my head. And that's even after I got out of the hospital. It was weird.
Now, see, I maybe you and I differ just because of beliefs or whatever, but I felt like I saw something more than. I felt like it was more than just a dream when I was in.
Okay.
Like, and I know that I was in pretty rough shape too.
Sure.
They weren't telling even my wife what was going on with me
right.
at that point. And I remember, and actually I watched YouTube videos about this after the fact that there were people that have actually seen kind of similar things that I saw.
Okay.
And it was kind of like a forest. And there were these winged whatevers
right
that were guiding me through this forest.
Okay.
And then when I got out of the forest, and I remember the colors. I remember the colors being vibrant and everything else. I remember, but it was very, very real.
Sure.
But they were guiding me somewhere. And when I got out of the forest, there was something else that was guiding me. And it was guiding me through a town where there was a house. And I remember I'm not saying it was the light with the tunnel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was a light in the house that this whatever was guiding me towards.
Right.
And all I remember then is I remember hearing the paramedics, whoever it was, the nurses, doctors, whatever it was, pulling out whatever tube was in me. And so I could breathe again on my own.
Right.
And then everything went away and I was back to what I was doing.
Sure.
But the weird part about it wasn't that long afterwards that I was sitting there in a wheelchair at home watching TV, and it was I can't remember, it was the Queen's something or other.
Okay.
And they showed not her death or anything, it was something, the coronation, whatever, I don't remember what it was
called. something royal family.
Yeah, and so they showed a statue right outside of the palace.
Okay.
And I remember seeing that on these winged things that were driving me around.
Okay.
Or like leading me around.
Right.
And when I looked up what the statue was, it was an angel statue.
Oh.
But I remember the wings were exactly the same as what I saw when I was near gone.
Yeah.
And for me, because I recognized something like that and looked it up and saw what it was very real that something other than just a dream was what I felt like. I don't know. For all I know, it's just a dream.
Yeah, well,
people say, "Oh, you were just dreaming." Well, maybe, but
from what I understand, and again, I don't even claim to understand much, but like you read once your head gets clear, you start reading about, well, why did this happen and why did that happen? From what I understand, when you're in a coma, your mind tries to define what's going on without bringing the reality that might scare you into it. And I don't know why this pirate stuff was not supposed to be scary, because it was, but it probably was less scary than thinking about, surgeons doing surgery on me while I was, unconscious. I don't know. I mean, the whole coma thing is weird, man, because that's
interesting.
You hear stories. Anybody that's ever been in a coma has a story about it.
Yeah.
Nobody, not a single person I've ever met that's been in a coma comes out and says, "Yeah, I don't remember anything." No one.
Right. And the thing is, like, you never think you're going to be in one.
No, not at all.
When you are, it's something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate with mine personally. I think everybody's different, and I, anybody who knows anything about burns knows that the worst part is when they scrub the dead skin off, and prep you for the recovery and grafts and all that stuff. And I am beyond thankful. If I'm thankful for anything about my accident, which I'm actually thankful for a lot of it, But if I'm more than thankful about the one thing, it's that when I went through it, I was in a coma during that phase. 69% burned. They had to scrub an awful lot of dead off me. And, I was like, woof, that's brutal. And I don't remember any of that. I just woke up and it was already done. I was like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, I was obviously in a coma when they took the leg off.
Sure.
But I did have another surgery after that to have more of it taken off. But it wasn't obviously nothing I remembered. I mean, I remember being wheeled into the operating room, and I remember they said, "All right, get on that table." I remember getting on the table, and as soon as I got on that table, that was it. I don't remember anything after that.
So, who told you what happened? Was it your doctor, or was it Heather, or was it your dad, or who was it?
What, the leg was gone?
Yeah, who told you initially?
I don't know. Because I was so medicated and drugged up. I don't remember how that all happened. I mean, I remember vaguely. My dad says that I called him and told him that I was going to have the leg taken off. So somebody would have had, and I know my wife had to sign for it.
Sure.
Because I couldn't sign for it. So I couldn't, I don't know. And then I remember there was one doctor, and I saw him months afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when I saw him months afterwards, I recognized his voice. I was like, dude, I recognize your voice. When did I meet you? He's like, I was with you every day after your surgery and made sure that you were okay. And I talked to you every morning. But I didn't remember his face. I didn't remember anything. I just remembered the sound of his voice. And I gave the guy a hug because I just remembered that sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I mean, dude, you are definitely one. You're like a true survivor because you don't hide behind it. You're not trying to hide the fact. You're out there, you're talking about it, and you know what? That's good for your brain, man. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely good for your brain to actually acknowledge it and not anybody that hides from something that they've been through, especially when it's not your fault. If you would have chosen that path, which this, dude, a lot of people do. A lot of people get an amputation. A lot of people get a burn accident, whatever, and they never come out of their house again.
No.
And, you've made yourself probably in your own head stronger by talking about it and by answering questions and letting people ask you questions.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to take it head on.
Yeah.
Still feel a foot, legs. Yes. Dude, it's the most bizarre thing ever. Like, there are days where I'm sitting there going, dude, my right foot hurts. Look, there is no right foot there, but it hurts.
Yeah, that's one of them things. I've heard that about amputations, is that like for years you have that too, from what I understand. Is I mean, dude, it really is it's hard to explain, to I always call them commoners, which is not really the nicest way to put it, but to people that have not been through something, it's hard to explain this stuff to people, because it's otherworldly stuff as far as 99% of the world's problems, I guess, but I always look at it as, for me, it makes me tough. For me, it's always like, you can't afford to pay your rent this month? Yeah, well, I was dead. I win.
Yeah.
You're not going to bowl me over in sorrow anymore because I've beaten way bigger things than, you don't like the way your website looks or whatever. It's like, who cares?
Well, all right. Well, we got started on this because Tina Turner passed away.
That's right.
We got Tony Musachio coming up in about a half hour, but
okay.
We do have some other things, I guess, to get into.
Yeah.
Before we talk to Tony. So Let's take a quick break. I want you to listen we'll listen to all the commercials, but listen to this first one. Yellow Brick Road Auctions is very cool. This woman has a great service. It's something very unique, and it's a lot of fun too, in my opinion. But again, Tina Turner dead at 83, and we're still taking your comments and everything else. We'll be back in a few minutes. Hang on.
touch of your hand makes my pulse react. That it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. Oh, what's love got to do with it? What's love but a second-hand emotion? What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? It makes
There's no place like home, and whether it's furniture, artwork, home accessories, appliances, or that one-of-a-kind collectible, Yellow Brick Road Online Auctions allows you to find everything you need from the comfort of your own home. The owner of Yellow Brick Road Auctions has been conducting online estate auctions for over 8 years by providing homeowners with a stress-free process to liquidate all items that have accumulated over the years.
I'm Melissa Mendici, owner of Yellow Brick Road Auctions. Log on today to find your heart's desire.
Hey, it's Seth from Mario's Barbershop in Parma, 7526 Broadview Road in the Pleasant Valley Shopping Center right next to Big Lots. You got to check out Mario, man. Great guy, does a lot for charities, but can perform miracles with hair. He even made me look clean cut. Does my hair, does a great job. Love talking to the guy while I'm sitting there. It's a great place to go, local business. You gotta go to Mario's Barbershop in Parma. Mario's Barbershop in Parma, 7526 Broadview Road. Again, in Parma, Pleasant Valley Shopping Center, right next to Big Lots. Or give them a call, 216-520-1977. That's 216-520-1977. Mario's Barbershop in Parma.
Trust Joe's Lakewood Computer at 14035 Madison in Lakewood. They have over 30 years of professional service handling laptop and desktop repair services, virus removal, and data migration, and much more. You can trust them with hardware updates to your computer's memory and hard drive. Call 216-651-3880. Whether you need a simple Windows install or you're interested in the latest computers for gaming, call Joe's Lakewood Computer at 216-651-3880.
This is Tim Elkhorn, radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers for attorney Will Spiegelberg. Will Spiegelberg is not only a name you know, he's someone you can trust as your attorney no matter the circumstance. Will Spiegelberg is an attorney you can always count on. Will Spiegelberg is the attorney you should contact for all your legal work. When you need an attorney, call Will Spiegelberg at 216-233-4240. Attorney Will Spiegelberg, a great teammate. 216-233-4240.
Right back here on the Seth Williams Show, Chris Aiken from Chris Aiken Presents, the CMS Network, and Classic Metal Show, 8 billion other things you do.
Yeah.
Chris Aiken IT Services, everything.
Pinball PA,
Pinball
books,
PA.
all this stuff. Dude, before you go into a topic, I just wanted to share a quick tech update that is going to be, I think, helpful for the show.
All right.
At long last, I got what is known. There's another avenue to everything we do called CMS TV, which is a 24/7 TV online TV station that plays not only when we're live, but it also plays older episodes of this show and all the other shows on the network on it. And there's actually a player that's built into the homepage of the SethWilliamsShow.com where people can watch. They could be watching right now. I just pulled it up to make sure it's working, and I see us talking,
nice.
Right now. So, but the reason I bring this up is forever I've been struggling with trying to get the automation to work right. But I finally got it working, and I've been test running it this week. But beginning on Tuesday of next week, or really beginning Monday of next week, the show, the Seth Williams Show, will be on every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6.
Nice.
Mondays and Wednesdays it'll be live, but if you miss Monday, you can catch it on Tuesday. If you miss Wednesday, you can catch it on Thursday, and then there'll be an archive episode that runs on Friday. So
Well, that's awesome. So where do they get it? Just go to
the SethWilliamsShow.com.
Go to SethWilliamsShow.com. You can click on it there, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's right there. And if you want to, if you're busy or at work or, the car wasn't getting internet or whatever when we were on live, you can go and watch it, every day, 4 to 6.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that should make it easier to make your drive home to hear us instead of the garbage that's over there at TAM.
Yeah, and it is, man, believe me. If there's one goal that I would have other than this podcast going, as far as I dream it can go,
sure,
would be to just go over there and just help them make that show funny again.
Yeah,
they got going on.
Yeah, I've barely listened, and when I have listened, it hasn't been any. Look, Triv to me, I'll just be honest. Triv to me was a tough listen, not because of Triv, not because of you, but because of the 9 million commercials, because he was so damn successful.
Yeah,
that made it tough to listen to sometimes. But the morsels that we got were good, were fun and funny, and interesting. It made you think. It made you yell and MF Triv sometimes. And, it did all those things. But that 18 minutes or 22 minutes of commercials an hour was tough.
And see, that's where, and I don't know what they do now because I don't listen. But, we came up with a clock that actually worked very well.
Sure.
And the problem is management over there is fucking clueless.
Right.
And then the one that had a clue, they got rid of. But I came to them and I said, look, all of your FM successful talk shows are doing these clocks where you give them 20 minutes of talk time.
Yeah.
And then you play 8 minutes of commercials. Well, people will sit through 8 minutes of commercials to get to 20 minutes of straight talk.
Yeah, and you can
do
break
it with other shows,
and you can break it up with a live read in the middle somewhere as well, too, right? Like, or a Triv Reed commercial would be mixed in there somewhere, so they'd hear his voice and keep staying in.
But or he'd go smoke, and it would be the 8 minutes of commercials.
Right.
But it was at least you got 20 minutes here and then 20 more minutes of trips. So, if you want to train that stupid station, trained an audience to know exactly when commercials were coming up. You know exactly every 10 minutes, and they do it now. When stupid traffic is coming up, there's no traffic in Cleveland.
Yeah, not really.
Okay, great. There's a water main break on Pleasant Valley. Now you know that and move on. But you don't need 3, 4, 5 minutes of news breaks all the time telling you the news of the day. People know the news. They got a phone.
Yeah.
And so they trained an audience when to tune out. I said, why don't we train the audience to know when trivia is going to be on for 20 minutes at a time?
Right.
So get all your junk done for 6, 7 minutes, and then go ahead and have 20 minutes of talk time.
Yeah.
And they went with it for a little while, and then unfortunately, we all know what the rest happened. But they wanted him to fail, and that's what that really, really sucks. Is that they set him up numerous times to fail. They handcuffed the shit out of that guy, and the sad part is that I had to be part of that, and so sometimes he hated me because of it. But they handcuffed the crap out of him because I don't know why they wanted it to fail. They wanted the money they brought in, but they didn't want the show to succeed.
Well, they didn't want to pay him is what it was. They wanted to establish something that they could, and I've seen this with all these media companies. They want to get a guy in that draws people, and then they want to build 2 or 3 other clones that they could pay less money and replace the guy that draws the big money. That's always how it works. And that's probably what they were trying to do with Triv too, or they were waiting Triv out because he was getting older. They were waiting him out, just thinking, well, we'll already have this audience built. And it hasn't worked from everything I understand.
I've seen the ratings. It has not worked.
Yeah, but that's what they were hoping for. They were hoping, honestly, and I don't, obviously, you might know better than me, but if I had to guess, I would say they were hoping that Triv would retire and would anoint somebody, whoever it was that they were going to replace him with. Triv would go on the air and say, yeah, this is the new guy. He's got my endorsement. So then they could bring in the new cheaper guy and they would get all the Triv people because Triv endorsed it.
But that may have been the plan, but I don't think so. I honestly, and this is just me talking, and nobody has told me this yet. But scratch it. I know people. It's not like I don't know
Sure.
people over there that I've talked to, and I know for a fact that some of the management just didn't like Triv.
Sure.
And they wanted him gone. They couldn't get rid of him because of the money that he brought in.
Well, and the fear of him going across the street.
The guy was approached by NCX and other stations to leave TAM, and he could have easily done that. And quite frankly, he should have done that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would have taken me, and being stuck without him would really sucked. But that's what he should have done. And I honestly believe it was a spiteful, hateful way that they treated the end of him. What they did was erased all of his sound. They banned his callers, Jim, and they made a mockery basically of what the legacy that he created.
Yeah. They just played him. They just played him like he was just one of these. They played him like he was Les Levine or somebody, or And I'm not trying to denigrate Les Levine, but you know what I'm saying. They just made it like he was just another guy that was here in Cleveland.
Absolutely.
They didn't treat it with the, hey, this is a guy that really carried Cleveland local radio for a lot of years. I mean, decades.
Whether you like Triv or not, you listen to Triv.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have to respect what he did in how he got his job and how he maintained his job and how he succeeded through all the crap that they made him do.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, the guy, as radio goes, his story is the same as if you take a guy that becomes, a big builder, like that builds billions of dollars of buildings, and he started because he found a hammer on the street. It's that same story. Triv was a caller, for God's sakes.
Right.
I remember hearing Triv. I was little kid, and I remember listening to Pete Franklin. Pete Franklin was my shit back in the day.
Right.
7 to 11 on 3WE or whatever it was at the time. And I just remember listening to Pete Franklin, and then Triv would call in, and Pete Franklin would kill everybody. Everybody that would call in on Pete would be like, "What, are you an idiot?" Of course the Indians lost. They stink. That was Pete Franklin. But then Triv would call in, and he was like the recognizable caller.
Yeah.
And he literally took that from being the recognizable caller to being maybe the most famous DJ other than Alan Freed in Cleveland history.
Yeah, absolutely. And nothing pisses me off more than talking about this because,
sure,
look, I know how Triv felt about me at times. Believe me, I do. And
sure.
Jim and Sandy, I know that you guys are sitting there going, no, you don't. You said a lot of shit about you. But I know for what he thought.
Right.
And it's not like I'm stupid. But I also know that there were times that we got along. And I know there were a lot of times that him and I did things together that, we talked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they treated that guy should be a crime because they erased history of radio that shouldn't have been forgotten.
Yeah.
And,
the thing is I mean, and I know a lot of the people that are listening and are commenting and stuff here, they're the Triv hardcores, and I get that. What really you don't hear anything about is the casual people that were not necessarily Triv hardcores, but just Triv was a part of their day because they were in the car from 5 o'clock. They were in the car from 5 to 6, so they caught an hour of Triv from 5 to 6. And, those people are gone now. They've gone on to, honestly, the landscape itself has changed so much now, even in the year since Triv passed, year and a half or whatever it's been since Triv. What has it been, a year and a half, roughly?
Yeah.
It just in that time, when you think about it now, radio was already becoming a dinosaur, but now it's stuck in the tar pit. It's podcasting is so much bigger. You can pick what you want to hear. You don't have to listen to stuff that you don't want to hear. And nobody wants to be spoon-fed corporate shill junk anymore. And they've made it so easy that even non-techie people can get a podcast on their phone now and play it in their car.
Yeah, and Richard brought up Rush, and you don't have to be a fan of Rush either, but Rush did change the landscape of that kind of radio also.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about a guy that did a show by himself with no sidekicks, no nothing, other than a guy he talked to off mic on occasion.
Yeah.
And he could do a show without even thinking twice. You could do 3 hours without even blinking an eye.
Sure.
And it was what radio was supposed to be like. And now it's not. Now it's garbage.
Dude, there was a
jokes and everything nonstop.
Mm-hmm. There was a time there when my whole day was I would be if I was somewhere that I had my satellite, it was all Opie and Anthony. That was my thing. Yeah. I was big into O&A. But if I was somewhere that I didn't have my satellite with me, or like a workplace or whatever, it was all TAM all day. It was Glenn Beck to Rush to Triv. That was my day every day, and I would wear headphones and I would listen to Glenn Beck and then Rush and then Triv, and that carried me for 6, 8, maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
So that was, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I'm sure there was tons of people that had that same exact thing, and it was good because you got informed of stuff, and at the same time, especially Glenn Beck, he's probably my least favorite of the three. Because I don't know, sometimes he was kind of a goof, all his, let's get the duct tape out and tape our heads together so they don't explode. And, he'd start into that rant, and I was always like, kind of, that ain't my deal. But that was quality radio back in that day.
Oh yeah.
That's gone now. There's no
quality. Yeah.
Instead, what can you listen to in Cleveland now? You can listen to what? Rover, who, he had a friend, or he has a friend that, did whatever. That's Rover's whole catch. Me and Matt used to make fun of that all the time, because every time Rover starts every story with, I've got a friend. It's like, how many friends do you have, bro? That every day you have 4 different friends doing 4 wacky things. You're making shit up. So, there was that. There was, Geraldo for a little while. It was just, I don't know what that was about, but I
don't think anybody does.
I didn't understand what was.
There were times where I kind of liked Geraldo. I mean, because Geraldo kind of, at times, because I know there's people out there that are no, but at times, Geraldo rode the fence of being more moderate. That's why he's on Fox News on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say this, but his wife kind of drove me crazy because he put his wife on. His wife is extreme left.
Right.
So it kind of drove me crazy, but I liked Geraldo to an extent and thought he was I guess I always thought he was funny.
Right.
Glenn Beck, I really enjoyed back in the day. Glenn Beck, I thought was, almost better when he was an alcoholic, but he, actually, I still listen to Glenn Beck when I can, and I listen to him. Triv actually had Glenn Beck on numerous times, and Glenn Beck actually came on after Triv passed and said some very nice things. And
wow.
So I mean, radio was good. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Look, Rover, I disagree with you only to the extent that there isn't anything else to listen to other than him.
Yeah.
What else do you listen to in this town? I mean, Wills and Snyder, I guess I like, but if anybody knows Wills, Wills off the air is one of the funniest, kindest people and greatest people I've ever met in my entire life. So is Snyder. They're both fantastic, great people. And Wills is one of the funniest dudes I've ever met.
Right.
But you don't get that.
No, you get
when
a
you
milk
listen
toast.
to the radio, because it's all right. 8:15, we're going to talk to ABC. 8 o'clock, news, weather, traffic. It's like you don't get it.
Yeah, well, and I just know for me, man, it's where I checked out is, I'm so thankful for podcasts because I mean, and I have an army of podcasts on my phone. I have like 35 podcasts that I am subscribed to, and I never get bored now. It's if I want comedy, there's a podcast for it. If I want straight-laced stuff, there's a podcast for it. And some of the shows, even some of the guys that are like on the radio, I like getting just their podcast because it's shorter, like Dan Bongino. You know, I like Dan Bongino. I would never listen to 3 hours of Dan Bongino. That's just too much, you know, right-wing butt kissing for me. But, you know, I could take about an hour, and that's what he does with his podcast. He gives you an hour.
Right.
You know, and even like I still listen to the local, like Ken Carmen, you know, who I find to be entertaining. But I can't listen to his show because I can't take the callers. I just can't take the endless callers about, so who do you think we should trade for to make the Browns a Super Bowl champion?
Yeah.
I can't deal with that. But they edit all that out in the podcast. So in the podcast, you just get him and Anthony Lima talking, and then they edit all the callers out. So it's great. You know, so I've really just gotten to be now, I don't need to hear anything at a certain time. I just need to hear it, and that's kind of how I run my day.
Even the rock stations, though, even like rock, I listen to, you know, O&E, and I listen to, you know, MMS and stuff for some of the music. But even the DJs on the stations are just, it's crap. I mean, it's fluff, it's bullshit. You can tell it's recorded, and it's just no good. Radio needs a resurgence, and it needs a resurgence of local. And it needs to get rid of this corporate crap that they're feeding because everything is recorded.
Dude, I just think the genie's out the bottle, though. No, man. This medium that we're on now is the medium. When you see guys jumping out, Pat McAfee jumping out for, you know, $250 million, you know, to go to ESPN and whatnot, and still be part of YouTube. The day of tuning in your car is done. And now the cars all have internet in them, the newer ones.
And now they want to get rid of AM radio in cars.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I'm with you. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts to try and do that, because you're really gonna. The reason they want to do it is because they want to shut down the right from having an outlet, because a lot of those right-wing shows are on AM radio, because, you know, Clear Channel, that's not the Clear Channel way.
But you can still get podcasts. Rich is sad you can't get podcasts on AM or FM in the car, but you can still listen in the car.
Yeah, I mean, get them on your phone.
Yeah, and isn't there a listen live button on the website?
Well, it depends on what. Yeah, I mean, you could, like, I know that the guys over at XRK, they use the Audacity app or Odyssey app, AUDACY, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can either get the podcast, or if you want to listen live, you could just push a button and listen to them live, or you can hear like the last hour. So if they had an interview at 7 a.m. and that you wanted to hear, and you missed it because you got in your car at 8 o'clock, you can just push a button and it'll go back an hour. So it's actually pretty cool.
You can listen to this show in your car.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just sync your phone up to your car like most cars do now.
Yeah.
You can listen to this show without a problem.
Yeah, just sync it up or run it through a cable or anything. Yeah, you can absolutely listen to this in the car.
Another bad move was when TAM lost the Browns games. Well, I mean, it wasn't like the station's choice. I don't think they chose it.
So who covers the games now? I haven't listened to radio in years.
92, 850.
Oh yeah. I guess that is right. Yeah.
98.5 even has the games too. It's like and that's one of the things that drew the Browns away, is that they could get a multi-station deal.
Yeah.
A bunch of different things with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know.
Yeah, I just think 5, you know, and it's weird because we've all been claiming radio's death now for 20 years and it's still around.
Still there.
But, you know, I really, the way people listen and consume data now, and people are so, there's, you know, that obvious lack of willingness to give things time. It's only going to be so long before people just stop completely listening to 3-hour shows where they're just going to want 10-minute hits here and there. You know, that's more and more the way we're getting to these days. I mean, dude, how do you view YouTube? Do you go out there and find a 3-hour show? No. Or do you go out? I know you go to TikTok and you're like, hey, here's 20 seconds. That's perfect.
Yeah. I want it now and I want it quick.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah, but it's the truth. It's the truth of the situation today. People don't want, and it's weird because the biggest podcasters are all the exceptions to the rule. Joe Rogan, Adam Carolla, Mark Maron, McAfee, they all do long form shows and they work, but they are the absolute exception. 99% of the people, like I mean, I do long shows, whether it's this one or whether it's, classic metal show, 6 hours. That's a long show.
Yeah.
And, that is a long Saturday, every Saturday. But I can watch our numbers. I can watch our numbers like on YouTube or the analytics. And I could see at 10 minutes, it falls off the cliff. No matter, even if we're doing something engaging, and we have the audience engaged, after 10, 12 minutes, bloop, audience cuts more than half every time.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I keep an eye on all that stuff too. I just thought, and going back to originally we were talking about, Triv saw all this coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like him and I used to sit on the parking lot and check the temperature, smoke a cigarette, whatever.
Sure.
And it would be talking about radio and talking about the future of it. And he saw the destruction of that radio station. He saw the moving towards podcasts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit. Half the commercials we ran during his show were about podcasts.
Yeah.
That iHeart was trying to promote.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can buy if I wanted to, and it doesn't cost that much money, and add on that radio station to promote this podcast. I probably should do that. I don't know, maybe management wouldn't approve it, but I could do that, and they would run it because they promote these podcasts are on iHeart. We're on iHeart.
Yeah.
And,
you could. You could say, listen to us on our iHeart station, and why not?
But he saw all this shit coming, and I guess I'm kind of glad he's not around to see it. He wanted to do a podcast. He wanted to do like a mafia podcast,
which would have been cool.
Which would have been way cool. And it's like, Seth, how do we do this? So I was like, I don't know. I didn't know first thing about podcasting. So I was like, let me ask.
Yeah.
And when I asked management, of course, they said, oh, you need like 100,000 listeners to get on iHeart to do a podcast. Now, again, I think they're probably just feeding a bunch of crap that they didn't want him to do it. But it would have been super duper easy for him to do that podcast.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, how do we get paid for it? I said, well, that's a different story, Triv. We're going to have to, you got to do a lot to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's it. But
he could have made that happen easily. He could have gotten sponsors for a podcast and done that.
Of course, he would have started off with 30,000 listeners day one. If he was smart, which I know he was, he would have absolutely been saying, "Hey, we're going to be launching a podcast July." He'd be now. If he was on the air now, he'd be like, "Yeah, we're launching a podcast about the mafia starting July 1st. Here's a link to the website, to get yourself the app or whatever it is that's gonna run it." And boom, he would have had 30,000, 40,000 subscribers day one.
Oh yeah.
And then you have 40,000 of anything, there'll be people that'll spend money to get their name on it.
And the sad part is that iHeart probably missed the boat by telling him not to do it. It would have been a great thing for the podcast channel that they have or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, they were podcasting, Triv. They were podcasting the show because I used to get that podcast.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where it was me or Carmen at the end of the day editing it and slapping it up there. And, it's the same show that you heard. But he was talking about something original, which would have been, pretty interesting.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a different animal these days, man. And I personally, I can watch, like, again, I'll pull back just to my own thing because I see the numbers to my own thing. When we do Classic Metal Show, we do roughly 3,000 listeners live, live over in the 6 hours. We do like 3,000. That's a pretty good number. That's not bad for an unsponsored, uncensored, raw thing. 3,000 is a lot live. But when I cut it up and put it out to come out on the podcast during the week and the videos of it and stuff that run, we do 20,000 a week. It's just people don't want to be told when to listen to stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And they want to be able to say, yeah, that's not my thing. Boom. Oh, those guys, they're talking about porn stars. I don't want to listen to that. And they want to be able to move on. That's the landscape we're in today. And it's just different, man.
And that's why I tend to not pay attention to whatever the live numbers are for me. I pay attention to who's listening after the fact. Because I'll get comments throughout the week saying, hey, heard the show.
Yeah.
They weren't listening live, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I was always used to, all right, how many people are listening today?
Yeah.
We'd get ratings based on everything. They could break down the hour if they wanted to see how many people were listening during the hour. But that's not the way that this kind of stuff works.
No,
you
can
listen at midnight if you want, or up and you miss the show because you're working or driving or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, I've been beating you every time I talk to you on the phone. I say the same thing. Cut it up, put it out a little piece every day, make it somebody's morning show. And that comes from experience. With CMS, with Classic Metal Show, we do it ends up being 5 segments, 5 1-hour segments, and then an hour of music in between that fills. That's kind of the method for it. And we put out the 5 segments a week, 1 a day, and I get 10 emails a week that people, especially if we miss a show, like if Neely's traveling or if I'm traveling or whatever, if we miss a show, I get 100 emails that are like, dude, what's going on? Where are you guys? I don't have any morning show to listen to now. It cracks me up, man. And it's, I've built radio stations. I have I have several streaming stations now that I've built. They never do the numbers of the podcasts because the podcasts let people pick and choose what they want to hear and they let them hear it immediately. And that's the difference.
How much do you think it would cost a 4 p.m. block? They're pretty cheap if you go for like there's like a app or a site that you can go to for like traffic commercials. So it would be awesome to hear like Olivia doing traffic and say, yeah, this traffic report brought to you by the Seth Williams Show on iHeartRadio. And I would just love to have that. I'd love to have a camera on some of the people at the station when she says that. But it's actually only a few $100, I think, for spots for that.
Yeah, radio it's not that expensive. It depends on the show. But I know, like, for, I do a lot of advertising stuff in Pittsburgh for Pinball PA, and it's cheap. It's like $60 a spot or so. If you buy like a block of 10, you can get it for like $50 or $60 a spot. And usually it's, you get a few at this time and you get a couple at this time and, and you just space it out. But
how does radio know how many people are listening? They used to have a book that people had to fill out and then send it in to see, what was going on and how many people were listening. You could lie on that book. Oh, by the way, now they have these things called people meters or whatever.
Right.
And so they have like, I guess it's almost like a pager or something that you walk around with and it picks up what you're listening to. The shit part is that if you're in a grocery store and there's music or a radio station playing in the background or a doctor's office or something like that, then it gives credit for you weren't listening. You just happened to be where this meter is picking stuff up. Ratings in radio are really, really rough.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. A lot of it is political anymore. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that I believe any of it anymore.
Where's Musachio? I'm waiting for Musachio to actually get a picture on his screen.
Yeah, looks like he's having internet issues.
I don't know. Let's all send in $50.
Nice.
I know I had that book once. Yeah, you could. If your friend was on the radio and you wanted to say, "Hey, I listened to my friend," you could just write down what you want to write down. Or if you have a meter, you could leave your. For all I know, maybe I'm completely wrong. You could turn your car on and stick a meter in there and let it idle for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I thought that I had read somewhere that the book now was the way they figured out ratings was they took the online listeners and they knew what percentage that was of the total audience. So then they could figure it out that way.
I don't know. We were always mad because we weren't getting credit for online people. And we're saying, okay, you're pushing podcasts, you're pushing all this shit that's online, and then we don't get any credit for it. You're telling people, listen here.
Yeah.
Go away from your radio and listen to the podcast. Go away from your radio and listen online.
Right.
And we don't get any credit for it. And that's why they keep bonuses down and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it is. Well, Musachio's not getting any.
I'm going to try just for fun. Nope, there's
no, you're not.
I forgot. I think he's in Van Aken today, which is like it's almost like in a mall.
Okay, well, that ain't good.
So we may not be talking. Hey, there he comes again. We'll see if he pops in.
Still no picture.
See, after all this, you could do 10 tomorrow on the tuck issue. Yeah, I wanted to get into the tuck. Wait, there he is. Kind of there.
It looks like he's frozen.
Should I try? I guess I can.
You could try it, but I don't think we're going to get him.
No.
Nope.
He had a whole script for me to say, too, which I'm going to read when he actually shows up. I'm going to read what he wanted me to read. Maybe,
because it's really looking like he doesn't have any good internet at all today. Wow. Nope.
Oh God. Well, I'm sure wherever he's at, it's fantastic.
Yeah. We may not find out though.
Yeah.
We may have to table this till next week.
It's one segment I don't have to cut up tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. Good Lord, because this ain't looking good.
Did he get cannolied? I don't know if he's had an Italian joint today.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. I know where he's not. Here.
All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Tony. We're going to come back with talking about tucking your junk.
All right. Well, great.
Yeah. All right. Hang on.
All right. What separates Triv's restaurant in Strongsville from everybody else? Some restaurants you go to eat the same thing over and over and over. But then there are restaurants like Triv's where you want to go there every single time and eat something different until you have eaten every single item on the menu. Why? Because the food's delicious and it has been for almost a quarter of a century. Triv's has amazing food, outstanding service, and an opportunity for you to have private dining, special events, and intimate occasions. You can enjoy a memorable fine dining experience in your own dedicated, intimate space. Visit Triv's in the heart of Strongsville. Call now for reservations, 440-238-8830. Triv's in Strongsville. Joe Burdick custom flags are amazing. Each flag is handcrafted to reflect the imperfect perfection, making each piece of patriotic wall art unique. This is a local small business, veteran-owned and proud. Joe Burdick creates symbolic artwork that is built to last. Display your spirit, pride, and patriotism by calling 440-305-2065 and let Joe's flag serve you. 440-305-2065. Joe Burdick Flags. Let me introduce you to Charlie's Auto Repair. Any car, any truck, any problem, Charlie's does it right. You know how it is. The check your engine light comes on, you put air in the tires, and the light is still on. 216-470-0170. That's Charlie's Auto Repair, 13728 Madison in Lakewood. Charlie can do it all, from small engine repair to fleet maintenance and system diagnostics. 216-470-0170. Charlie's Auto Repair. Let Charlie make your car great once again.
Right back here on the Seth Williams Show, Chris Aiken from Chris Aiken Presents, CMS Network, classic metal show, many different things.
Yes, sir.
Hanging, and I appreciate everything.
Sure.
Good old technology. Yeah, still in. Right, Tony is trying another phone, so we'll see what happens. There he is. I mean, I don't know if it's.
I'll try it.
I guess I'll try it, man. I don't know. If I'm not, we're going to something else here.
Okay.
Tony Musachio, how are you, my friend?
Hello,
I
Tony.
am great. Can you hear me?
Let's go to Tony Musachio, our restaurant reporter
Can
who has
you
been
hear
on the
me?
Big Truck. Yes, we can hear you. Everything that you said. And good night, Tony. All right. To tuck or not to tuck? That is the question. What am I supposed to do here? I think he finally heard me say something because he's laughing like a half hour
it's
later.
delaying so bad that it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work like that.
Yeah.
So.
Unfortunately.
Try and get me in.
There you go, Tony. I think this is probably entertaining at this point.
Yes.
There's somebody.
Can you
Hi, Tony.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Still.
Okay, go ahead. Start my introduction.
Oh, Jesus. You want me to actually do this? Okay, I'm going to do it. I got to get it back. All right. Let's go to Tony Musachio, our restaurant reporter who's been on the Big Chuck and Little John show, the Mike Trevisano show, my show. What else have you been on?
I've been on marijuana. I've been on Section 8.
And a bad phone.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
And a bad phone.
Internet connection.
Can you get? And this is crazy. I am in a complex here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I am actually at Great. I am at Market Hall, Van Aken District. So behind me is an actual food court on the Warrensville Center Road, Chagrin and Van Aken. It's a complex here right in Shaker Heights. As you can see, it's very busy here on a Wednesday evening. There's probably about 12 different restaurants right inside this place. Anything from pizza to pastries to actual alcohol. And I'm going to see if we can walk and see this. Guys, how's my audio? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, just keep talking.
I'm good? All right,
Yeah.
Perfect. Guys, guess what? I found liquor. Look at this. It is a full bar with beer on the wall and a full line of liquor. Actually, I'm going to grab my friend here who owns one of the bakery shops right inside this complex. She started a few years ago, and her name is Ivy. Ivy, we're going to put this in that ear right there. Let's see what the other one. Let's see what happens.
That's the wrong one.
No, the other. You're right. Go ahead. And then you're over here. Guys, we good? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Ivy, Seth, Chris,
Yep.
say hello.
Hello.
All right, give your story about how you started.
Oh, okay. Elementary. We started out as a pie company. We kind of did a pivot during the cupcake craze. A million recipes. We settled on the perfect chocolate chip cookies.
Can't hear her, Tony.
I know. Perfect chocolate cake. You can't hear her?
No.
Nope.
Did I hang up?
Here.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Put it in.
All right.
Put it in.
Can
That's
you hear
what
me?
she said.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we started out as a okay, good. We started out as a cupcake company, and we kind of pivoted during the cupcake craze. We're here in the Van Aken district now. We're selling cookies. Everyone loves our cookies. We settled on the perfect recipe here. And right now, we what else? What do we want to know?
You're opening your new store.
We're opening our new store on Coventry.
When you started, you sold out of a car trunk.
I did start out. I sold out of the trunk of my car. I sold cookies out of the trunk of my car. And then we kind of transitioned into a retail space in Beechwood Mall. We're here in the Van Aken district. And now we are opening our second location on Coventry. So we're excited about that.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello, can you hear me? This internet thing isn't.
It's a,
Oh,
yeah,
you can
there
hear
go.
me. You can hear me? My
Uh,
head could be right next to hers, just like it's one. Can you hear me now?
Just keep talking. Whatever. It doesn't matter at this
Sorry,
point.
this is crazy. This internet is not working here. All right. Can you read my lips?
Do you want to try a different network?
We're going to try a different network. Guys, stay tuned.
All right. Man. What I got out of it is there's a cupcake company.
Yeah, it's a cupcake company over on Van Aken somewhere.
In like a shopping plaza.
Yeah.
And I talked about how shitty fucking radio is on the other channel. Welcome to this show.
Yeah, no kidding. Good Lord. That was not good, but we may have to try again on Monday with Tony. Because
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
He said he's tried like 2 different phones. Okay. Where do you even go from that?
Let's just go into the Tuck story.
Yeah.
Let's do a hard left here.
To Tuck or not to Tuck? Yeah, to Tony or not to Tony? Shit, he's coming back. I don't even want to attempt this.
Well, let's see if we get a picture.
We're never going to talk about the tucking story. I'm trying this one more time, Tony. Then I'm kicking you out.
No, we can't hear you.
No, we can't hear a word you're saying.
No audio.
The picture's great, though.
Yeah, we got a great picture finally, but no audio. Oh, man.
Audio, visual, can you see me now?
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, we're good?
Yes.
yeah. I hear you.
Perfect. I can hear you. I can hear Ivy. Let's try this one more time.
Show's over, Tony. We got to go.
The show's over. Live. Tony Musachio, live at the Market District, Van Aken, Winter Center Road, Chagrin Boulevard, and Van Aken. We are here. This is your food court. Anything from bakery to pizzas to alcohol, poutine. I have an outside setting. This is a Wednesday evening, guys, and this is starting really crowded now. You should see this place on a Saturday morning and a Friday.
Do me a favor, Tony.
Yes.
Talk into her face because that's when you are the loudest.
Fine.
There you go.
Into her face. How's that?
Perfect.
This is like Ebony and Ivory's show right here.
Exactly.
Go ahead, tell your
Hi,
story
I'm
again.
Ivy. We have Ellie Mae's Gourmet Cookies here at the Van Aken District. We started out as a cupcake company. It's a pie company during the cupcake craze. We kind of pivoted to do cookies. We sold cookies out the trunk of my car for a long time. And then we kind of went over. Yeah. We went to Bishop Mall, and now we're here at Van Aken District. We're doing very well. And now we're opening our second location in Coventry in July.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Bedford and my dad had cans of oil and cans of windshield washing fluid in our garage for our window furnitures. I said, Dad, where did this all come from? He said it fell out of the truck. So this is kind of like the same story.
There you go.
Kind of. Sort of.
So anyway, she's opening up a new location in Coventry, which we will be at. That whole area is great restaurants. I mean,
Awesome.
Mexican to seafood. For those of us Asian, for those of us who remember that the Coventry has really come back.
It is.
Turn to her face again. Her face.
Oh, like this. Is
Yeah.
this better?
Yes.
Yeah, it is better.
All right. We got to get this little device that you guys are talking to me about, because right now I feel like Graham Bell just invented the telephone, guys.
You look like Joe Biden smelling her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells good too. That is creepy, but funny. You're having fun doing this. So anyways, when you're at Ellie Mae's and you're picking up cookies, make sure you get a strawberry and mango smoothie.
All right.
I gotta keep the daughter in college, and I also have a wedding I have to pay for next July.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
And don't forget to get a cookie.
and don't forget to get a cookie.
We have
Absolutely.
the best chocolate chip.
Guess what, Seth? You know what? We gotta get you a diet-free cookie. We'll figure it
Oh, what?
out.
He's sugar-free?
He's sugar-free.
Oh, we'll figure something
We'll
out.
figure it out.
There you
Okay.
go.
So here's a lady who doesn't eat sugar, but she sells a hell of a lot. It is so fun. So, hey guys, real quick. So next week, I am going to give you guys a surprise. It is one of the top restaurants in Cleveland, Ohio. You guys are going to be amazed. So it's really cool. Hey,
Great.
real quick, there is a psychological disorder that is true. With sunlight, a man can actually get aroused. Now that's talking about rise and shine. Love you guys. I will see you next Wednesday.
Tony.
Everybody knows Tony. Yes, Chris.
No, it's Seth. Tell her I said thank you for playing along. We appreciate you being on.
Yes.
And
No, thank you, guys.
Everything looks great. I'm sure the cookies are fantastic. You got to get out there and check it out. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And
Thank
you know
you.
what? When she does the Coventry, I'll make sure there's an internet there.
Yeah,
Look
for
at this.
sure.
Here's a beautiful complex, and I can't get internet. This is insane. Anyway, welcome to Shaker Heights.
You guys are awesome.
You call the cops, they'll be here in a minute.
They will. There's no internet.
There's no internet. That's why everything's so expensive in Shaker. But anyways, guys, Tony Musachio reporting live at Shaker Heights, at the Market District. Everybody knows Tony for the Seth Williams Show. Don't forget, you can tune me in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on 1490 WERE between 10 and 11 o'clock. We'll see you then. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, President Musachio. Appreciate it.
Boy. Oh, my goodness. Where do we even go from that?
I don't know, but it was funny.
That was funny. Jeez, oh, man.
It ended up being all right. And the place looks great. She played along. She seems like a very nice lady.
Yeah, absolutely. But boy,
And
so she gets her hair smelled like Biden and gets to hear about how the sun makes dicks hard. Jesus, just what she wanted, I'm sure. She just wanted to promote her cookies.
I'll go down there and check them out, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And like everybody says, oh, you need a sugar-free cookie. Sugar-free cookie. Look, dude, I can have a sugar cookie every now and then.
Just can't have 8 of them anymore.
Yeah, I'm just not pounding on the bag like I used to.
Yeah, it's not a row of Oreos anymore.
No. I did actually buy some Oreos. They're like the thin ones.
Right.
They came out with Oreo thins. So there's less sugar, less fat, less carbs, all that kind of stuff in these little things. And they still taste pretty good.
Okay.
But it is a struggle not to eat like all of them.
Sure. Too funny.
All right, Target. We got a little time left here.
Yeah,
Get into
absolutely.
this for a few, because a lot of people were talking about it earlier, and a lot of people were texting in about it. To tuck or not to tuck.
I'm going to stop you right here before you even get into the story.
Yeah.
So when you said we were going to the story, I was trying to have it on my screen, and I quickly just I Googled "tuck your junk," figuring that would pull it up.
It didn't.
No, but it pulled up the clinical definition of tucking.
Oh, really?
Would you like to know the clinical definition of tucking?
Yes,
there is a medical definition for this.
All right.
Tucking is defined by the Transgender Health Information Program. God knows why we have that.
Okay.
But it is defined as ways one can hide the penis and testes, such as moving the penis and scrotum between the buttocks or moving the testes up into the inguinal canals. INGUINAL.
I've been there. It looks like Italy, like the Venice.
It's right next to the Panama Canal, right?
Yes, it is.
The inguinals.
I took a gondola down the inguinals the other day.
Right. But dude, the fact that we even have a definition for this.
Yeah, it's slightly disturbing. So Target put out I guess now I got to get all the letters right because I saw this morning and I don't want to leave anybody out.
Okay.
It was the LGBTQ, but then they added
IA plus.
IA plus. I don't know what IA plus. Plus, obviously, there's more, but IA, I don't know what that means.
Incel. I don't know what A would be. Androgynous, maybe.
Maybe that's it.
Incels and androgynous plus anything else they can make up on their way.
So Target put out a line of clothing for it's Pride Month starting June 1st. And it was a whole bunch of rainbows and all kind of different kind of clothes and stuff for the community. which is fine. Do whatever you want to do, I guess. But they also put out tuck bathing suits where you can tuck your genitals. There was a story out that they put them out for kids. I don't know if that's true or not. They did put out, it looks like sports bras and stuff like that for any sex.
Right.
All combined in one big thing. And it was going to be at the front of the store. Like you walk in, you'll see everything. Apparently, yesterday they had a panicked meeting because they don't want to become the next Bud Light.
Right.
And they are experiencing backlash from this, and they are removing some of the clothes, but they're moving the display to the back of the store now.
Yeah, they're trying to slink away from this.
That's what it seems like.
Yep.
Now, the problem that I have with this, if you're going to be loud and proud, then do it. Be loud and proud. Be proud of what you're doing. If you're going to be supportive of the community, then go ahead and do it, but then take the shit for it.
Did you say loud and proud or loud and poor?
Well, that's the way it's probably going to work out for them. But what I like about this is that I feel like the right is finally standing up for themselves and saying, we've had enough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're whatever one of the letters are. You can be whatever you want. You could be trans. You can do whatever you want.
Sure.
But you don't need to make the front display of your every Target store the focal point to be that. One, you're teaching kids things, whether subconsciously or whatever. In my opinion, you are. And you should let people and kids figure stuff out on their own. And two, it's not the majority of society.
No,
We've had this thing going on for the past few years of the minority, the squeaky wheel, I guess, gets the grease.
Well, dude, what it's been more, I mean, and correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but what it's been is it's not only the squeaky wheel getting the grease, but it's also most right-wing people don't have time or energy for things that they feel are stupid. You know, and let's be honest. I'm not a full right-wing guy. I'm really not. I'm kind of more in the middle, but I don't have time for nonsense like this. I don't have time to worry about, tuck bathing suits and whatever. For me, it's always like, yeah, do whatever the hell you want. I don't give a shit. Do whatever, And I think it's been that way for a long time. But now I think most people on the right are just done with it. They're like, you know what? I'm not going to just keep being quiet. Now it's time to fight back. Now it's unfortunately become a time where you have to say, no, you're being an idiot. I'm not taking it. And I think that's what's happening now.
Yeah. And I'm not anti anybody. I could give a crap less what you do. It doesn't matter to me what you do in your bedroom. It shouldn't matter to anybody else what I do in my bedroom. And believe me, you don't probably want to see it. But why do we have to make a scene over everything anymore? Quit being an activist over every freaking thing that we do in this country. You don't need to be an activist for everything. Not everything is offensive to you. You want to put out a line of clothing, just put it out.
Well, I think what's been lost in the last 10 years is the difference between accepting and appreciating. I think we all accept that there's gay people doing gay things. I think that we've accepted. We all accept that. None of us are like, no, you can't be gay. You can't be trans. You can't be bisexual. Nobody is saying that anymore. But that's not good enough for those in those communities. Those in those communities, what they want is they want you to not only say, not only am I accepting it, but I hope my son or daughter grows up to be that.
Right.
And no, we don't. You want to go fuck a toaster, go right ahead. Go and do whatever it is that you want to do. But don't expect me to celebrate the fact that you're doing that. And that's kind of where I think right-wing people have gotten to the point where it's like, no, we're done. We're done playing this game. And we're pushing back.
Yeah, and it comes off as being anti-gay or whatever. I'm not. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not
I
either.
just don't care. I mean, I never thought it was my business what anybody does in their private life. I don't walk around on the street with a straight flag. I don't expect somebody to walk around on the street with a gay flag. Just live your life, man.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this country has become so overrun with the minority of people. When I say minority, I'm not talking about black or white or this. I'm just talking about a small group of people that seems to be offended by something all the damn time. And we need to now stand up. We need to now throw our shit in everybody else's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
I don't like it.
Dude, being offended is the new power grab. Back in the day, in our day, the way you got power was by achievement. But we've taken that all away now. The way you gain power now is by complaining.
Yeah. Now, I want to play just a little bit of this video.
Sure.
Now, I just want you to think about this. Did you ever think that you would hear this stuff even 10 years ago, but much less 20 or 30 years ago?
Okay.
Listen to this.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Cis men don't menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you are,
menstruated at
if
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not
excluding
men.
a whole group of people
They're
here
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men. You are not a man. You can pretend to be a man.
I mean, that goes on for like another minute. But did you ever think that you'd have this conversation on a TV show or anywhere? I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, well, to answer your question, yes, Jerry Springer.
Yeah, well,
that's where you heard these conversations, not CNN or whatever that was.
But these are the same fools that were sitting there saying, follow the science when it comes to masks or anything else, which obviously wasn't true.
Right.
But they want to pick and choose what to follow. I mean, it's crazy. And I never thought that I'd have to sit there and have, in the middle of a daytime television show, I think it was Dr. Phil or something.
Right.
Have to sit there and listen to women or men can menstruate.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Look, but it's the power we've given up. I hate to say it, but it's the 10 years ago, 15 years, honestly, back to when gay marriage was approved, and because that's what opened the Pandora's box to all this, was when gay marriage was put in place, because then it was like, okay, now everything's on the table. But right-wing people, because they didn't want to be called a bigot or they didn't want to be called a homophobe, they were afraid of being labeled. That's when this fight was lost. It was lost out of fear. And now I think people are finally pushing back and saying, I don't care if you call me an ist, pick one of the ists and you can call me whichever one you want, but I'm not backing down on my opinion.
Right.
And now it's starting to get pushed back. That's why Bud Light can lose $4 billion and Target is probably well on their way to losing.
Bud Light is actually buying back beer.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't sell it after what they did. And Target, I don't know. I mean, I guess hopefully we'll suffer the same kind of consequences. I don't really care about Target.
I don't shop at Target, so it doesn't affect me anyway. But dude, look, if you've got any sort of a need, and Target is doing something that you do not fundamentally agree with, why in the hell would you not go to Walmart or just Amazon?
There's something somewhere else where you can get your stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, those two, I'm not saying that either of those two are politically aligned in the methodology that me or you might be, but they're not. You don't see Amazon going out there and actively pushing an agenda as much as, what do they make? $150 billion a week or something? Amazon makes a crazy amount of money. The last thing I think you're going to see Amazon do is say, well, here's our Pride line and have it be the number one thing on Amazon's website.
Yeah, it's 24/7 gaslighting. This is what a communist takeover looks like. And I don't know, maybe it is. But that's the way that this country seems to be going. And that's the stuff that I used to get frustrated on the show talking about, because I think it is pretty obvious the direction that one side wants to take as opposed to the other side.
Yeah.
And I've never been a left-right person. What I've been is right and wrong person.
Right.
And, I'm not anti-gay. You can be whatever you want. What I'm against is mutilating kids, teaching kids that it's okay to change your gender when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, to have drag queens come in and teach children that this is something that is normal and accepted.
Right.
These are things that are not normal.
Right.
And it shouldn't be accepted. If you want to do it, do it. But one, leave the kids alone. And two, you don't need to put it in everybody's face because it's normal for you doesn't mean it's normal for me. Just go live your life.
Well, dude, isn't it amazing how we've erased the 18-year-old barrier? Remember, but even 5 years ago, everything started at 18 years old.
Yeah.
You couldn't talk about doing anything before you're 18. And remember, even us as kids, we couldn't drink. We couldn't do, any of the stuff. I mean, drinking was obviously 21, or I was like the last class of 18. But, now you don't hear people even mentioning, you don't hear people saying what we all used to hear, which was, hey, do whatever you want when you turn 18. When you move out of my house when you're 18, do whatever you want.
Right.
Now you're literally worrying about your fucking 10-year-old kid suing you for not letting you getting a hormone change or whatever you call that. Hormone transmissions or whatever. It's crazy now.
Yeah, well, this is true. They've always been there. We accepted it and walked on. Now screaming for attention. Well, I do think that's part of the problem is that I never cared. I never cared growing up whether somebody was gay or straight or whatever. I know it sounds cliche to say, but I had gay friends.
Sure.
And I didn't think anything less of them or anything different about them.
Yeah.
And, we joked with them the same way we joked with the straight friends, if that's
of
what
course,
you want to say. Because they were just friends.
I'm
not afraid of anybody. I'm not transphobic. What am I afraid of? I'm not scared of anything. What I am scared of are my child being influenced by things that they shouldn't be influenced by.
Yeah.
It's my job as a parent to raise my kid the best that I can. And with the amount of outside noise that there is now, between social media, between the stuff that's going on with everybody's an activist, it's really tough to keep the reins on what your kid should be looking at, doing, or taught.
Yeah. Well, and they're slowly but surely etching away your ability to raise your kids. That's really what it's coming down to. It's like, dude, I mean, think even back to like spanking your kids back then. And I'm not an advocate of spanking your kids, but it used to be kind of a, you screwed up, you got a smack on the ass. That was the thing. Now it's like they've got the kids are trained to tell the parents, if you spank my ass, then I'm going to call the police.
Right.
They've taken away your ability to parent them. And look at the society that we have since spanking has gone away. And again, I'm not an advocate for it. I'm just saying they pushed their way into dictating how we raise our kids. And look at the societal change that we have with this generation versus the last generation. It's a wide difference. And there's only one really thing that changed. And that is the ability to raise your kids the way you want to.
Now, I'm going to play another quick video. 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
I don't have a whole lot of time. But this is, again, I don't want to ever, I'm never going to get into abortion talk on this show because it just doesn't help anybody. And nobody's going to win, and it's just an awful argument to have. But this is an example that I found of just what our kids are dealing with when it comes to teachers. Now, this is a teacher on the left at a college. Now, these people are in charge of preparing our children for life moving forward.
Right.
This is a teacher.
You're not educating shit. This is fucking propaganda. What are you going to do, like anti-trans next? Is that what you're going to do next?
I mean, no, we're talking about abortion.
This is bullshit. This is violent. You're triggering my students.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not. Because you can't even have a fucking baby. So you don't even know what that is. You don't even know what this is. Get this shit the fuck out of here, yo. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want raising my kids and teaching them how to
Right.
live.
That's what I want in charge of my child when I entrust her to go off to college and learn to prepare for the future.
Yeah, and what a great teacher that does not allow both sides of an argument to be made and let people make a choice. That's perfect. That teaches nothing.
No.
She's talking about their propaganda. She's the propagandist because she won't let the idea be
exactly
put out there.
College is meant for free thinking. It's meant to, you can decide what you want, and it's not being taught anymore. It's not. It's being shouted down. In fact,
exactly.
In many colleges, and I hate to say it because I know maybe most people, hopefully on this channel, agree, but it's the right that's being shouted down. Again, if you have an opinion, I'm more than willing to hear it.
Sure.
But listen to mine as well. I mean, that was supposed to be the idea for this show. Unfortunately, it never really turned out that way.
Right? No, I agree.
I don't know. Speaking of radio, Jeff and Flash will be at the Music Box Supper Club June 15th, talking about the epic days of MS. You should have them on the show.
That'd be good.
I should absolutely try to get them on the show.
Absolutely.
Control and indoctrination of the children is how you control a society.
Well, it was the playbook Hitler was going after.
Right?
He had what do they call those kids? The Brown Patrol or something? Didn't they they had a name for that, didn't they? I don't remember what it was, but they wear the brown uniforms.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's out of control at this point. People need to wake up, and I think fortunately some people are waking up.
Yeah.
Some people are waking up against these beer companies that want to change stuff just to be woke.
Yeah.
Some people are standing up to Target saying, I'm not going to shop there because they just want to be woke. People are doing stuff, and I think that's
Hitler Youth. Thank you. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's. Dude,
I'm happy to see.
I'm happy to see the pushback. I hope it's not too late.
It might be, but we'll find out.
Might be.
We'll find out. But I'm gonna wrap things up for tonight.
All right, there we go. Wow, that went quick.
It did go quick. Appreciate you once again.
Sure. No
Tony
problem.
Musachio. Check out the Van Aken market over there. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Wednesday. Oh no, today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. Monday.
Monday. Enjoy your holiday weekend.
That's right.
We're still gonna be live though Monday.
We will be live Monday.
Right?
Yep.
That's still the plan?
Yep.
All right, so Monday, be here. You got picnic going on. Put the podcast on in the background.
That's right. Take the iPad outside.
Yeah. And God willing, we'll have some fun stuff to talk about. And we'll get into more. So thank you very much. And God willing, talk to you Monday.
See ya.
See ya.